All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Lifelong Gunner podcast. I know it's been a while, guys. This video has probably been long overdue. Reasons why I haven't posted is I just felt like there was already enough. I don't want to say negativity because I'm not really negative. I'm very constructive in my podcast and my beliefs on the team. I don't really say anything that's not warranted. Um, and I try my best to be as understanding as possible. Um, but I didn't want to add to the rhetoric. You know those ones, guys. When sometimes you see, because at the end of the day, our objective as Arsenal fans is to win the Premier League. So when you go through difficult moments and you see a rhetoric and you see the momentum start to gather and build, and then you think about and you see the harm that is causing the team psyche seeping into the fan base, and you see it starting to brew, and then you think about your content and then what you were possibly saying. And even though it's constructive, it could be misconstrued into something that is not negative, into something that is negative. Um, and so sometimes you have to just step back and say, yo, before anything else, I'm a fan, and I always want the best. So I'm going to just not post right now. And then there will be a more appropriate time to post. So here I am. We just played Newcastle and we beat them 1-0. So I'm going to speak about the game, and I'm going to speak about what I think has to happen in the summer. So, all right. So first of all, we won. All right, 1-0. So our goal difference is, I think, greater than no, not think. It is definitely one goal greater than Man City. I think we both have 37 goal difference, but now we have 38, so we're one better, and we have 3 points on the table after beating Newcastle. But the game was far from perfect, guys. The game was very tense. Um, it just seems like a recurrence of over the last probably 3 months. It's a recurrence of the same type of negative football. Um, I don't know if it's a lack of confidence, guys. Honestly, if I was to be completely honest with you, what I think it is that I think this is just where the Premier League is at right now. I think that there's no way that Arsenal could move in the space of 2 years, could move from playing 2 or 3 years, the football that we're playing under Arteta, which was free flowing, we're scoring goals, and the year that Gabriel Jesus signed, and even the year after that, and we're just scoring goals to where we are right now, where it is really just like claustrophobic, guys. You know, the only teams that are really going for it and taking big risks are the teams that are not going to win anyways. Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Leeds. These teams. First of all, these teams lose a lot of games as a consequence of their adventures, their open-mindedness. They're not as defensively astute, so they lose a lot more games. But they're allowed to play with that certain level of freedom. Crystal Palace as well, because they won't win. They won't win. And I think that they know that. So it is easier to take risks when you already accept and understand where you are. Um, you just try to have a good time, I guess. But when you're trying to win something, then you have a tendency to adopt a protective mindset, um, a risk averse mindset, um, and you become very circumspect in the way you view things. It has to be, everything has to be dialed in. And it doesn't help that the Premier League is there's a lot more quality dispersed throughout the league. So if you take a gamble, the likelihood of you paying for that gamble is way greater than it's ever been. But let's talk about the actual players, individual players. Nobody was particularly outstanding. There were some players who were better than some. I thought Nkapie had a good game. I thought Madueke had a good game. He could still he needs to work on his end product, and his decision making in the final third. But I think those two players had a good game. Saka came on and he gave us a little boost. Gyökeres came on and he was getting around and he was really, I was really pleased with what he showed us today. Um, by the way, I hope Kai Havertz is not injured. I don't know, what the issue is with Kai Havertz. That I hope is not an injury, as well as Eze. Eze looked. I'm more relaxed about Eze because he was on the bench and he didn't look particularly concerning. But the Havertz one, he went straight down the tunnel, so I'm not too sure what happened there. But guys, I think what we're suffering most of all is a consequence of where the league is right now, and also the fact that we never stayed true to what we know is the right way forward as a football club, and that is cycling of players, understanding and accepting that certain players at certain phases of our clubs, moments in our clubs um, current history. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but they will they play their part and then you move them on. And I feel like, especially in the attacking players, I feel like we never stay true to that. I feel like we're really we're just changing goalkeepers. At one point it was like, oh, another goalkeeper. Defenders as well, we felt like, oh, another defender, but it was always very progressive and very and we understood why we did it. It was to the point now where we have the best defense. Although the defense is looking a little shaky, we have the best defense in the league, probably in world football right now. At Arsenal, all across the defense. Um, in midfield, for a long time, we never did that, and we started to stagnate in midfield, and we kind of see that this is what happens when you don't accept that these players play their part and it's time to move them on. But in recent times, we had the Shaka, the Partey, the Jorginho, the Rice, and Partey. Then who else we had in there? And then we got Rice, and then it was Rice. Oh yeah, we have Rice and Partey. Then we got Zubamendi, and then Zubamendi and Partey and Odegaard. And Odegaard has been a mainstay in all of that. But so you see we're in midfield and defense and goalkeeper. We were doing what we needed to do, and you see how it has paid off. But in the attack, on the wings, and striker, and even in number 10, even with Martin Odegaard, we see that we never adequately address those situations, and and that is why we lack the vigor of teams like um Atletico Madrid, Ademola Lookman, and Mikel Olise from Bayern. Um, who else? I mean, there's so many of them. I know I'm going to miss them out. In the number 10, Jamal Musiala. Um, we can talk about, and players like Anthony Gordon, though, albeit a level down. Um, you have players out there with, like Yan Diomande. And we never really, that are better players, young players, but are more risk takers who will give you more creativity, you know, free flowing attack. But we never, we stuck around with Martinelli. And to be fair, nobody could see this coming. Players like Martinelli just kind of fell off a cliff. Where Trossard was getting old, so we kind of expected decline. Martinelli was really a surprising one, and he still has moments when he's a Martinelli of old, but they're few and far, guys. The guy has barely been injured, maybe one injured, maybe missed 2 games through injury, and has 1 goal and like 2 assists. Madueke, 2 goals, 1 assist, or 2 goals, 3 assists, or something like that. So we see that we have a fundamental issue. Kai Havertz, 1 goal. He was out for a long time. Odegaard has been out, stop and start, 1 goal. So it's not really sustainable from an attacking point of view to have players, first of all, not be available, and then second of all, to when they're available to not. produce, especially on the amount of money and the type of pressure that we're on as a big club. So yeah, so I think that these are just some of the consequences to where we'll find ourselves, and I feel like we really need to do is win, though. We need to score goals, but most importantly, we need to win because no matter how many goals we score, and we need to not concede. If we're not going to score a boatload, then we cannot concede. I think everybody understands that. So um, what we really need to do more than anything else is win because somebody is going to drop points. I took a look at the remaining fixtures for Arsenal versus what Man City have, and they have a way tougher time, guys. Everton, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford. You don't want to be going into 4 games left, and those are the teams that you have to play. Yeah, I mean, we have West Ham. They're fighting relegation with Tottenham right now. So you don't really want to be playing them, and they look like they are like they have a perseverance about them. They look like they're really getting through the games. Like by the game against Everton today, where they conceded and they were able to come back in the last minute and score. So they're persevering. And they've been showing that perseverance over the last couple of games, getting good results. So you don't want to be playing them. But I think apart from that, though, I feel like Crystal Palace, which is our last game for the season, I feel like they don't really have much to play for, and they're in the Conference League semifinals right now. So I feel like we will be okay against them if we show up. And not to say that any of these games are easy. Fulham is not a game that is easy, especially for Arsenal. Notoriously, historically, we've always seemed to have some kind of problems with them getting over the line. We're playing against Fulham, but we have the easier running guys. What we need to do most of all is to win all our games. And if we're only able to score 1 goal, or if we're only able to score 2 goals, no matter what, we have to keep the incomings on a absolute minimum to retain that goal difference because something tells me that both teams are going to win all their games, or a team is going to lose 1 game. So I feel like it's either both team win, and I guess those are all the possibilities. I don't think anything catastrophic is going to happen, but I think that is either a team is going to lose a game, um, or it is going to come down to the goal difference. And it might even come down to final margin, and that it might even come down to who scored the most, in which case City are ahead. So I don't know. Anyways, guys, it's good to be back. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought about the game today, what you think about the future going forward into summer. Let me know who the team that you would feel against Atletico Madrid in the semifinals. Yeah, guys. So far so good. I saw that City beat Southampton today, so they're into the final of the FA Cup. So yeah, hopefully, we want them to have games and have games and have games because we can't be in the Champions League and these guys are home getting rested and relaxing. And yeah, no, we need these guys getting minutes into their legs, getting tired so they can fumble. Anyways, guys, peace and love, and I'll see you on the next one. Boom.